we've got two parcels outlined in red here. Parcel 26 is the more Mackay parcel, and parcel 27 to the north, direct north of the subject parcel, parcel 26, is the Dodo Mortuary, and toward the bottom, indicated in the green color, to the south is the Clem Akina Park. The applicant is requesting a state land use boundary amendment from agricultural to urban for a 14.95 acre portion of parcel 26, and a change of zone from agricultural 20 acres and open to single family residential 10,000 square feet zoning district for the same land area. In addition, they're requesting a change of zone from agricultural 20 acres to a family agricultural 1 acre zoning district for approximately 24.73 acres of land, and this includes the remainder of parcel 26 and the entirety of parcel 27. The applicant's current proposed project includes plans to develop 51 total lots, including 49 habitable lots, 30 in the single-family residential 10,000 square feet designation, and 19 in the family agricultural designation. One approximately 1.7 acre lot to expand Clem Akina Park, and one approximately 2.11 acre lot to preserve a historic era cemetery. I just want to note here, and it's in the background and recommendation, that the proposed zoning could allow for a maximum density of 89 lots via subdivision, and this is excluding land area to be set aside for roads, the park expansion, and a cemetery preserve. So when we look at changes of zone, unlike some other permits that we do where it's very proposal specific, when we look at changes of zone, we want to look at the maximum density that could be allowed, because if the change of zone passes, they're not required to develop this 51 lot subdivision. They can realign it, add lots, subtract lots, things like that, up to what the zoning would allow. County zoning for the subject parcels, as we said, is currently Ag 20 on parcel 27 in its entirety, and a split zoning for parcel 26, Ag 20 and open. That open zoning coincides with the area to the north of Clem Akina Park. That area has been used historically as part of the park under a lease agreement with the previous owner, and kind of unofficially with now this current owner. So again, part of the proposal is to formalize that additional area for park expansion. Just for reference, again, we've got Wainaku Street running north-south through the slide, and Amaulu Road running east-west through the slide. Other zoning in the area to the north is Ag 3, multifamily residential designations across Wainaku High and across Amaulu. Some single-family residential, 7,500 square feet, and then some resort zoning further Mackay. The state land use designation for the subject parcels is agricultural, as indicated in the green color. Mackay of that, and on either side, north and south, is urban, as indicated by the pink, and then some conservation, which is indicated in blue, and that is the river. The general plan designation for the subject parcels is also split. The bottom 2/3 of parcel 26 is medium density urban, and then the remainder of parcel 26 and all of parcel 27 is low density urban. And here's an aerial photograph of the subject parcels. Again, just for reference, we've got Wainaku Street running north-south through the slide, Clem Akina Park here, Dodo Mortuary here to the north, Amaulu Road here running toward the bottom of the slide. Access to the subdivision is being proposed as all off of Wainaku Street at this point. Amaulu Road in this area is a county road up to about 650 feet from the intersection with Wainaku Street. Above that, about this area here is all a private road. Here's the applicant's proposed site plan. Again, just with the proviso that this is what's currently being proposed, but once the zoning is granted, it can be changed. We've got showing here on the lower portion of parcel 26 and kind of to the right of this dashed line is the area to be set aside or to be converted from agricultural to urban. That's the 14.95 acres. And this is where all of the RS10 zoning is. Again, the current proposal is to bring a road from Wainaku Street, and this is going to be a 50-foot wide county spec dedicable standard road all the way up to the top of the property. And we've got the approximately 1.7 acre portion that's proposed to be dedicated to the county to expand the park. And then this is the area right above the park where there is the old cemetery that is being proposed to be preserved in place with this approximately 2.11 acre parcel. Farther Malka is, again, the area where it's being proposed for family agricultural 1 acre lots, and showing these two roads here are being proposed to be kept in private ownership. And I apologize, this cul-de-sac road here was proposed to also be built to county dedicable standard as part of the RS10 neighborhood development there. Here are some site photos of the subject property. Here is across Wainaku Street looking Malka. This area right here, this grassed area, is generally the area to be set aside for the expansion of the park. The proposed roadway would be going in here to the south of the Dodo Mortuary property, and above here is generally where the RS10 zoned area would be, and then farther Malka would be the FA zoning. And then here on the bottom right, see a little bit closer view of one of the park structures, the grassed area to be set aside for the park, and then the cemetery lot is generally in this area that would be set aside for preservation of the cemetery. Here's a view of Wainaku Street looking south toward Hilo. The subject properties are on the right-hand side, and a view of Wainaku Street looking north toward Hamakua, and the subject property is on the left-hand side. The planning director is recommending that we forward a favorable recommendation for both the change of zone and the state land use boundary amendment to the county council with conditions. Since the background and recommendation was sent to the commission, there were two documents that we provided to you. One was just an amendment to condition S, and that was just to clear up what we're talking about in terms of what types of lots, or what would be required in terms of making the fair share contribution. Used a condition that normally would apply to commercial zoning, so I just wanted to clear that up, that what we're talking about here is residential lots created, since the resulting action here is going to be a subdivision. And also that the trigger for paying that fair share is prior to final subdivision approval. So any new lot that's going to be slated for a residence will be assessed this fair share value. We did have one caveat to that, and that's at the bottom, that the fair market value of the land to be dedicated for park expansion as required in condition R shall be credited against the fair share requirement because they're donating the land to a regional park. The other document that we received this morning, or yesterday, sorry, late yesterday, was a piece of testimony from Barbara Anderson. You should have gotten that either late yesterday or this morning, and it's just questions about traffic impacts of the development on Wainaku.
What is the difference, I guess, in law or ordinance between the standards that the residentially zoned roads in the area of the residentially zoned lots have to be versus the lots zoned ag
So county dedicable standard is a minimum 50-foot right of way. I'm not sure of the pavement width. For the ag portion further Malca, again, this is being proposed as county dedicable. So the right of way would be 50 feet. The ag, I believe, is 20 feet paved, and the urban maybe 24 to 30. Concrete curb gutter sidewalk.
I'm actually referring to the two side roads that serve those lots.
So the non-dedicable standard is a 20-foot right-of-way, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm not sure what the pavement would be, the pavement requirement, but it could be 12, 14, 16-foot wide pavement within a 20-foot right-of-way.
You're telling me that they could have put in a single road to serve multiple lots as long as it met the standards like that?
Up to 6 lots.
Up to 6 lots?
Correct. So a non-dedicable standard can serve up to 6 lots. In this case, again, in this particular proposal,
there's 8.
There are, but these 2 lots would take access off of this road. So these 6 lots here would take access off of the D.
Very clever.
So, yeah.
My name is Sidney Fouquet. I'm representing the applicant, the Edmund Olson Trust. Initially, I'd like to acknowledge that the staff's report is very comprehensive. We've had a chance to review it both with the Olson Trust as well as its attorney, and they both found the report as well as the proposed recommendation and the amended condition to be acceptable. I'd like to just, before responding to, I think, 2 different issues, one relating to the cemetery archaeological issue and the other one relating to the roadways. But before doing so, I'd like to kind of like give the commissioners some idea as far as the general history of the property. The property way back when, and probably Mr. Bogle knows, was owned by C. Brewer. And then way back when, I think it was in the 1990s, I think, so C. Brewer came up with this ambitious plan to have like about 800 residential lots encompassing this property and an adjoining property further, Malca. So they secured a state land use boundary amendment. They got the appropriate rezoning to create this residential community up in that area. Subsequently, C. Brewer sold the property to a family called the Greer Family Trust. And they wanted to not do that because developing the property according to what was at that time entitled was, they thought it was a little bit too expensive. And so they said, like, no, we'll just kind of like do a little bit agricultural activities on that area. So they went to the Land Use Commission. They had the property reclassified back to ag, and then went to the county council, and had the land also revoked, you know, like in terms of the county zoning. So that's how it came about. And then Mr. Olson, the Olson Trust, picked up all of those properties in that area. The Malca portion is kind of like actively being farmed right now, and then this area on an intermittent basis is kind of like used for like small scale farming. So the Olson Trust then, you know, they acquired the property in 2015. And so they said, like, maybe we ought to do like a 1 acre lot subdivision because, you know, there is a potential for small scale agriculture in that area. So they asked me, and then at that time, then I submitted a 1 acre, you know, rezoning application in 2016. It called for, over this 39 acre property, it called at that time for the creation of 29 1+ acre size lots in that area. The staff reviewed it, and then they said, like, well, you know, the general plan is called for low density and medium density on the Mackay side. So maybe you guys really ought to consider a more denser type of development. And so I said, okay, and we went back again, and then this scheme came about. Because the scheme came about because they still kind of wanted to create lots larger than the normal, whatever the zoning would call for, whether it's 1 acre or RS10. So that's why, like, as the staff accurately pointed out, you know, coming up with like 49 lots, you know, developable, not developable, but habitable lots. But if you look at it from a mathematical perspective, there is opportunity to create more, but that's really like not the applicant's intent. I can understand, and the applicant understands that there is a condition that the staff has recommended that that there be a traffic impact study done nonetheless, so that, looking at the maximum development potential. I mean, I can understand that because this is Mr. Olson's plan, but whoever acquires a property, they may have different points of view. So the staff is wisely recommending, and then the applicant has no objection, that before you come in for your subdivision application, then you have an updated, well, you prepare a traffic study, and then you comply with whatever Department of Public Works may require. So, that's fine and understandable. So along those lines then, talking about roads first, and if you look at the subdivision map and the issue about the landlocked parcel, again, like the staff is recommending, and again, I think it's a wise condition, in the interest of connectivity, they're recommending that there be a Mauka access on the northern point, Mauka access, and then also like a Hamakua access, and also like a Amaulu access. At least when you develop the property, there'll be county dedicable standard road abutting north, south, east, and west. So what you see on that map will obviously have to change, because it does reflect like some the lots on the agricultural portion on the market section is like narrow lots. I'm not narrow lots, but the roadway is narrow. It's only a 20-foot wide roadway. However, to address the staff's proposed condition, which is acceptable, it's recommending that on the north side, you already see that, like on the, what is it? On the left-hand side of this, the map, you can already see. Oh, so you have this connection, and then it also requires like a connection to Amaulu roads, whether it comes from this section or one of these roads here, and then also a connection on the Hamakua end at some point over here. So and then these connections, according to the staff's recommendation, the roadways have to be all built to county dedicable standard. So it'll provide this connectivity, overall. You asked a question about the roadway standards between agricultural and the urban area. Really, like the only difference is the base course. If you're doing a lot that's more than, if you're creating a roadway, whether it's in the agricultural area or in the residential area, and if it services more than 6 lots, then your right-of-way has to have a minimum of 50 feet wide. To make it to county dedicable standard, your base course has to be improved, and you also have to improve the balance of the right-of-way. Your roadway width ranges from about 20 to 22 feet, whether it's in the agricultural or the urban area. It's more like what is dedicable standard. Within also the ag or the residential area, you're allowed to have like a private road. A private road which, if it services less, 6 or less lots, then the minimum right-of-way is 20 feet, and then your pavement width is 16 feet. So like in this situation here, the private roads are like those narrow ones they're suggesting here. So that is like 20 feet wide with a 20-foot pavement. 16-foot wide pavement.
Your project timetable and cost. Can you just talk about that a bit? I'm looking at it and I'm reading it, but maybe tell me what that $3 million is going to incur. Is it the bare minimum, or is the applicant going to go out and beyond what they're required to? And talk about the timetable.
Well, first of all, from a timetable standpoint, Mr. Olson would like to, whether it's on his own or like working in a partner, and if he has to sell, he has to sell. But he is like, I believe, like 87 or 87 years old. So his development timeline is much shorter than many of us. But I think that in a perfect world, he'd like to really kind of like get started immediately. However, before he can actually make it shovel ready, there's a lot of steps that has to be taken prior to that. One is, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, the archaeological thing. The plan's got to be redrawn, to reflect the north-south and east-west kind of connection. The other thing is like the sewer connection, because the sewer line is in the Wainaku area, but it doesn't necessarily abut the property. And one of the conditions require like not only connection, but you have to also do a study, and if there's going to be an upgrade required, then those upgrades would have to be made. So I think when the engineers did a preliminary estimate in the beginning, that That I think is, in my estimation right now, and I'm not an engineer, I think it's a conservative estimate. It'll probably be much higher.
So one reason we want connectivity to all the edges is otherwise, if we didn't look for future connectivity, we would be creating one giant cul-de-sac, right? And that's not what we want.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. As my last testimony a couple of weeks ago, I did mention about the issues concerning hydrology. Has there been a hydrology study being done because of the always there's flooding down at the lower side of Clementina Park, which plugs all the drains and everything leading out to wherever it goes. The other part was concerning the access to the property. And you know, as more as I get to learn more about what's happening with this project, I see it as a gated community. Do you see it as that? I see it as a gated community. And, and it's going to be subject to those who can really afford to be in that gated community. Now, when you look at, you know, ranch lands and or farming lands and things like that, are these people who's going to buy these properties, 1 acre, 2 acre, 20 acres and stuff like that, are they really going to be doing livestock? Are they going to be planting things? Is it something that's going to be consumable, you know, for the general public? Is it something that they're going to purchase out, export and things as such? You know, are they going to be hiring farmers and things as such? So you got to consider now, when you look at these roads and access, if you get cattle trucks coming in, it might not be possible for, well, it might endanger the people that's within the area that has area, you know, as far as, you know, access to their properties and to turn around and things like that as far as trailers. So you got to consider this, okay? You know, is the property going to be used, because it's designated ag, is it going to be used for agricultural purposes? Or is it just another gentleman farmer lot? Okay?
Now, if
I
Mr.
would like-
Fouquet would please come forward.
Brought up in regards to that the 1 acre lots would be a transition from urban to ag, but it would be lighter ag. But as the testifier pointed out, the 1 acre ag lots, and I've seen it, sort of become gentleman farms, but not really farms. And I remember reading in the report that it will be incumbent upon the developer to be sure that anybody buying those lots, the 10,000 square acre lots or the 1 acre lots, be completely informed that that is going to be agriculture right next door. So if, let's say, that first acre lot in the middle on the bottom row was raising pigs and the people in that subdivision don't like it, that's just too bad. They get to raise pigs on the 1 acre.
That's correct. That's, you know, of course, if you're doing a piggery, you know, subject to Department of Health rules and all that stuff. But,
Correct.
yes, but then you do have that right to farm act, so that prevails.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that that was a clear intent here. Thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant's representative?
I move that we favorably, a favorable recommendation before it to the County Council on application State Land Use Boundary Amendment, docket number 17-00049, based on the Planning Director's recommendation, shall be adopted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or any proposed amendments to this motion? If not, will you call the vote, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Au,
Aye.
Commissioner Replogle,
Aye.
Commissioner Aguinaldo,
Aye.
Commissioner Rafferty,
Aye.
and Chair Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion carries 5-0.